He put it there. And he has a story ready about who did.
Conversation.
That is Angela.
We had this conversation entirely in Russian. This was my first time doing so on this podcast. And even these words I'm saying right now are spoken in Russian. So, if you're hearing me in English, you're actually listening to the English dub. On YouTube, you can switch between language audio tracks by clicking the settings gear icon, then clicking audio track, and then selecting the language.
4 days later, they call and tell him
The original Russian version, select Russian. And for the English dub, select
20 minutes into that room.
Subtitles are also available in both languages. The translation and dubbing are a collaborative effort of translators, real human beings, including myself and AI.
On March 15,
Thanks
2023,
to the incredible
Angela
team
Craig came
at
into
11 Labs
University
for their help.
Hospital in Aurora, Colorado, for the
Now,
third time that
please
month.
allow me to take this
Dizzy,
moment to say thank you
and no test could
from
save
the bottom
her.
of my heart
That
for
evening,
your love and support all
a
these
nurse called
years.
the police.
I love you
Nobody had
all.
reported a crime. The
This
hospital
is
had
the Let's
simply
Speak
started to
podcast.
suspect
And now,
she was
dear
being
friends,
poisoned.
here's
By the
Habib
time James
Nurmagomedov.
officers were in his
Let's
driveway.
try in Russian if we can,
His house
like you
was a crime
suggested.
scene.
I can help you
And
out if you
Angela
need.
was
Yeah,
still
thanks,
alive.
brother.
They were
Kind of
there
feel
because
it in my
James's
heart
own
and
dental
soul,
partner
but sometimes I
walked
can't
into a
find the
police
right
station
words.
days earlier
I know, brother.
and told
We
them
got
he
this.
thought James
Great,
was
let's start from
poisoning
the
his wife.
beginning.
There was a camera in
So
their kitchen.
that gym
On March
back in
7th,
Dagestan,
they recorded
where
him
you
making
train,
Angela a protein
is
shake.
legendary
A
for
lab
its
would
Spartan
later find
conditions.
poison in that
It was
pink
just
chocolate
one
container.
shower for 70
And on the
people,
15th,
only cold
hospital
water,
surveillance recorded
and
him
yet
coming out of a
this
bathroom
humble little
with
gym
something in his hand.
managed to raise more than 20
He
world
went into
champions,
Angela's room.
including several
He came
UFC
out in under
champions.
a minute and told the nurses her
Can you
arm
try to
hurt.
explain or maybe
Before that
reflect
day
on
ended, she was on life
what
support.
factors in that
They
gym,
still let
those
him go
training
home
sessions, and life in Dagestan created so many champions?
Sure. So, we're talking about the
2
gym,
days later,
the one
they had
located in
searches,
Makhachkala.
and an
And
order for
Makhachkala,
cyanide
for the people who
delivered
don't
to
know,
his dental
it's the
office.
capital of
On March
Dagestan.
19th, they
This was
called
back
and
around
told
the
him
years
his
from
phone was
2000 to 2010, and even later on. In 2019, we opened up a big gym, a major facility that is still functioning to this day. But before 2019, we all actually trained in that gym, where there was practically nothing. It was just a school gym with nothing but mats, a single punching bag, one climbing rope, and a kind of indoor basketball court. And if we go even further back, before 2000, before we moved to Makhachkala, we lived in a village. In the village, we had a gym right inside our house. My father, he built a gym at home, and he was training all the local village kids right there. And there were times back when I was a child, let's say when I was maybe 6 or 7 years old, I would occasionally wake up to the sound of people training, doing their drills right there in the gym. You know, like with judo or freestyle, when they're drilling, one guy throwing another. Those are my first conscious memories. I was maybe 5, 6, 7 years old at that time. So my father set up this gym in the village and trained local kids, including me, my older brother, and all our close and distant relatives. Anyone who wanted to come. A lot of kids came to him.
So you would wake up and there are these sounds.
Yeah. You hear the hitting, the throwing, over and over. And my father's voice, how he's shouting, giving instructions, pushing someone, coaching, teaching. I lived with those sounds, but that was in the village. And later, when we moved to Makhachkala, well, you couldn't say the gym there was wow either. There were only mats. And of course, the most valuable thing an athlete can have, a coach, my father. So he trained us there. And to be honest, until I became a champion and had big success, we never had a good big gym where we could, all take a shower together at the same time after training. We always had just one shower for everyone, no proper amenities.
So your life story began in the mountains of Dagestan and Sildi, and Kirova-Ul, and then Makhachkala. And in all these situations, there are very interesting stories. But one of the things I heard you say is that The best results are born out of the worst conditions. What can you say about that? Philosophically, is it correct to say that comfort is kind of the enemy for champions?
Listen to what he does not
It depends on the sport.
Not
For
how she
example,
died,
let's say in
not what
football,
they found,
you have to have
not what
conditions.
anyone would think
You
of
can't
this.
really play if there
man
is
told
practically
his
no
friends
field.
that murder
Of course, you can play in the dirt, and it happens
James
sometimes.
goes straight
You
to
can start
denying
there,
he was the
but
one.
when you are 10 or
Before
12 years
anybody
old,
in this
you already
Yeah,
have
that's
to be
something
at a
she
certain
died.
level.
Watched
You must have
before.
conditions. But if we look at our sport, then what is the most important thing? The coach. You also need sparring partners who will
Oh yeah, I think that was
push
the
you in the
takeaway
gym,
that
as they
many
say,
of
right?
us when we
And you
watched
need
it
the
the
mats.
first time.
Our
showing
sport
the
is not expensive. You just buy your wrestling shoes,
calculated
singlets,
how he was
shorts,
doing
a
it,
t-shirt,
and then
and
making
if there's a mat, you
people think
wrestle,
she
you
wanted
become
to
a
kill
champion,
herself.
you fight. But when you live too well, let's say, you're never in
And I mean, how
need.
people
For
get away
example,
with
you were
that,
born
even
into
without
a wealthy
footage
family and
and-
you already have everything.
Yeah.
Would that same wealthy father, would
He might have
force
been
you
able to
do
get
such
away
a
with it
brutal
even if they
sport?
knew.
A sport
Right.
where you come home every day with injuries,
Yeah, it's those ones.
where you
Used
come
to
home
slip
with an
through the
exhausted body, you come home with bruises. Would he really do that? That's the question. And the kid himself, who lives a life of luxury, would he even want to do this?
I don't know, man.
When we look at it statistically, the answer is no. This is where you need that hunger. You have to be in a position where you are truly in need.
And it's interesting that there's a psychological side to this as well, that you need a tough situation to create champions. But what's really interesting is how Dagestan has produced so many wrestling champions. You mentioned football. Let's look at other countries. Why has Brazil produced so many great football players? Why does Argentina have so many football players? Of course, you have Germany, France, and all that.
European,
The
yeah.
whole European side. But those are completely different cultures.
Yes, well, in Brazil, their strength is in their numbers. How many people do they have? The population is huge, more than 200 million, and people really love it there. It's a huge tradition, because you know, without a real love for this sport, you can never achieve any success. You truly have to love what you are doing. So they have the tradition and they have the love for it, and that is why they play for all the top clubs. Well, I think they just win by numbers.
Yeah, that's a powerful aspect of their culture. How much the whole nation loves to play football. And if you add to that a system that creates strong teams, that's how you can produce so many football legends.
Yes, take Dagestan for example. We love football. I just know how much people in Dagestan love football.
Yeah,
Yes, we
talked
have
about
wrestlers,
that, too.
fighters, there are many of us. But for football players, there is no
They were
ecosystem
concerned,
like that,
like,
not so
why
well
they were
organized,
allowed
where a kid can, for
her to
example,
tell
play
him
at
that.
school, then go
He's
to some
sitting there,
academies
he's
and
not
get
cuffed or
noticed there and then
anything.
get picked up
He
by a
looks
club.
a
We don't
little
have that
irritated,
system.
like he's
It's just
getting
kids
ready to snap,
running on the
almost twiddling his
street,
thumbs, looking at her.
playing on the
Just with that
streets,
stare,
following
kinda.
football. Let's say playing on PlayStation.
And so for her to like be sitting
There
there,
is no
there's
system.
no way you're
There is
getting
no
out of
selection
going to
process
jail.
where kids can go and
There's
show
no one
themselves,
else in there.
so they can
Yeah,
be
that's
noticed
pretty-
and get signed.
pretty
Yeah, I think
dashing.
Brazil and other countries, and
I
of course
know.
Europe, they have it. So yeah, we have big problems with football. However, in our sports, where you can wrestle, where you can fight, in that sense we have a system. For example, the gyms, in Makashkala, let's say for combat sports, I'm not even counting like freestyle wrestling or other styles. There may be 40 or 50 gyms for
There is
combat
someone else
sports,
sitting
and
back.
all are full. If you win in
She's not the
Dagestan,
only
you
one
move on
out
to
there.
the North Caucasus level, then to the Russian nationals. If you're champion of Russia, you go to the worlds. In amateurs, they notice you and you make a name for yourself. There is a certain ladder here. But in many other sports here in Dagestan, we don't have such a well-structured ladder for people to climb.
Can we look at this philosophically again? I mean, you've seen so many wrestlers, fighters. Why exactly were these gyms creating so many champions? I'm just honestly curious, because it's rare in any sport. One gym or a small number of gyms creating so many champions.
Well, first important factor is the competition level is incredibly high.
Experience matters. After a devastating attack, Susan Collins led the way forward, enacting historic bipartisan reforms that made us safer. Susan saved 250,000 Maine jobs. She protects access to quality health care, and she delivered the Social Security Fairness Act, boosting the incomes of 25,000 Maine retirees. America's most bipartisan senator, always working for Maine.
Yeah, I mean, it's done. It's done. I love it. I had to bring it back to it, but yeah. I mean, we typically download them and we give them back, but it's not customary for us to keep them because we have all the info.
You come to the gym, and in every spot, you have good wrestlers.
Tonight.
10 or 15 guys right there. And the coaches are great.
Right. I mean, had I not,
You know, it so happened that my father broke through in the media.
it's probable cause.
And then I became a champion. And the other guys became champions too. And my father's philosophy, it really resonated. And he became known for it. But there are coaches in Dagestan that not many people know about. They are known locally, but they are very good. And actually they have the knowledge, they have the approach, they have the philosophy. They could also be at the same level as my father was. I believe there are really quite a few of them. In terms of the coaching, I think Dagestan was extremely lucky. It probably goes back to the 1950s, when wrestling really took off here, starting with Ali Aliyev, our legendary wrestler, a 5-time world champion who went to the Olympics 3 times. That's where it started, with his generation. There was Zagalav, Abdurbekov, Ali Aliyev, those are the well-known names. I mean, those guys are famous, but there were so many other less-known wrestlers who, later on, after they retired, they all became great coaches themselves. And these coaches, they raised a very large number of guys who are really good at wrestling. And then some of those coaches, they kind of switched over to fighting, let's say to grappling, to MMA. And they started coaching in combat sambo as well. And it just kept going like that, you know, it was moving forward, step by step. And so we have a huge number of really great coaches. I believe this is one of the single most important keys to the success of Dagestani wrestlers and fighters, the coaching staff of Dagestan.
Is it more about technique, or is it really just about serious, incredibly hard work?
Well, you have to look at the traditions, because generally it's just the way it is in Dagestan. Everyone wrestles, everyone fights, it's part of our culture. You know yourself, fighting is like 50% wrestling. Every parent wants their children to wrestle, to be physically strong. Our approach to kids is that a child must be strong, they must be able to stand up for themselves, for their family. It's something that has traditionally always been in every single one of our clans, every family, every village. It's just in our blood.
I mean, it's worth pointing out, and you've actually written about this, that this isn't just a recent thing. It's been going on for hundreds of years.
Yes, that's right.
These lands, Dagestan specifically, have seen powerful armies sweep through time and time again. Because of that, people here have always had to fight to survive, refusing to back down, refusing to give up their land or lose their identity.
Their homes, their villages, yeah, their families and land. If we look back 1,000 years in history, maybe 1,500 years, there was the Khazar Khaganate, the Arabic Caliphate, then the Iranian Empire, or the Persian Empire, I should say. Then the Russian Empire, Timur passed through there, the Mongols, and if we look at the geographical location of Dagestan, for those who don't know, the Caucasus Range runs across the whole region like a wall, and then it slopes down right where the Caspian lowlands are. So you've got the sea on the right, the mountains on the left, and the Caspian lowlands right here. And there was a city there that's still standing today. It's one of the oldest cities in the world, not just in Russia. It's Derbent. It used to be called Babulabwab. It means the gate of gates. Very major trade routes went through there, very large armies passed through, and it was bound to leave a mark on the people. We have so many languages, more than 30 different languages, and people just don't understand each other. Take Islam and me. We have different languages, come from different backgrounds. Islam is Lag and I'm Allah. When we talk, it's not like it's a dialect. We don't understand each other at all. But since Islam has been with us for nearly 25 years, he actually picked up some Avar over time. But anyway, the deep history of the region, it all left its mark. It created many different languages and traditions. Basically, of course, Islam is our primary religion, but Dagestan has actually absorbed a lot of cultures and faiths, even our food culture. It is incredibly rich. We have European and Asian and Caucasian, our own unique cuisine. So on the people themselves, the last 1500 years of history have left a huge mark. If you're into history and you start reading about Dagestan, I think you'll get completely immersed and be amazed by what a unique place it is. So all of this left a huge mark. Look at the terrain. It's a coastal plain, and then the mountains rise up. For instance, take someone like Timur. When he passed through with a huge army, he stayed in the Dagestan lowlands but never went up into the mountains. Why? Because you've got hundreds of thousands of troops, soldiers traveling with horses and supplies. If they had started going up into the mountains where it's cold and there are no roads, it would have been too tough for them. So the highlanders somehow managed to stay independent. But the lowlands, the Caspian lowlands of Dagestan, they kept changing hands. Massive empires would roll in, and all of that left a mark on the people. Gate of the Gates, Babulabwab. Historians wrote about it, say, 1,000 or 1,500 years ago. Great historians from various countries. People have written so much about Dagestan. It went by different names back then, but they wrote a ton about this exact region. Many people, many empires invaded our land.
So do you feel that inside you, in your blood, your heart, like all of this history?
Well, in the past, it's not like I really felt it. I knew Dagestan's history, but maybe with time, you start to see it in a whole new light. Every year, you change a bit on a mental and psychological level. Now I understand, I really do. You cannot just be born physically and mentally strong. Your environment shapes you no matter what. Where you grew up, how you grew up, the conditions, and who you had around you. And after all, genetics are also a part of who you are. So when you add all this up, I just feel like all of this has come together inside me.
It's interesting because in sports, we know many of the names of the great fighters and wrestlers. Yet when it comes to war, there are so many people who fought, heroes, truly great warriors.
Summer's here, and right now get 0% financing for 5 years on all 2026 Silverado 1500 models, with no payments for 90 days.
He is not asking what killed him. He is asking whether they know yet. By this point,
First it was Graham Plattner's problems with women, and now Troy Jackson.
According to a police report, Troy Jackson kicked down a door, punched a man in the face, and pushed his ex-girlfriend. As state Senate president, there are multiple reports of Jackson yelling and screaming at women. Jackson even threw a water bottle at one woman.
Make no mistake, this is an attempt to intimidate and control women. Maine deserves better than Troy Jackson.
Pine Tree Results Bank is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Some we know by name, but most of them will never actually know and will never know. You write about Imam Shamil, that he's an important figure for this region, and a hero as well.
Well, Imam Shamil, he was known for resisting an empire as huge as Russia. Dagestan is so small and he had so few people with him. How did he get famous? He got famous because he held out for a very long time. He didn't just resist for a couple of years. He was like a regular fighter, let's say, a soldier for 10 years, and then when he became the leader, he went on for another 25 years. So, 35 years of his conscious life he spent fighting not just some random empire, but what was then, if not the most powerful, definitely one of the strongest empires of that era. And that is what made him famous. And so, there are villages in Dagestan that deeply honor the memory of particular warriors who came from their villages, from their clan, from their ethnic group. But in, world history, they're barely known. Like, take Shamil. He's a leader, right? So everybody knows him. But there are plenty of heroes who've been forgotten. But yeah, their own people remember.
Villages hold on to history. Plus, we have to admit that conditions in the mountains are incredibly harsh. That's part of it too. Just surviving up there is a real struggle.
See, back then, people in the mountains worked all through the summer just to survive the winter, because winters are harsh, with heavy snow, completely cutting off villages. People just stay inside and try to outlast it. And in the summer, they work. Terrace farming was a huge thing for us. Our terraces are among the most, you could say, famous and ancient in the world. They're known as the Chokh terraces. Now those are the famous ones. But every village had terraces. There's a place out there called Mahid, right across from our village. People worked over there, but here in the village is where they lived. I mean, you think, why didn't they just build the village right there, in the place where we grow all our food? Because enemies could easily ride in on horseback. An army could easily get to you there, so they'd build a village in rugged terrain, somewhere tough to invade. For instance, our village is Sildi. It's from the word Si, which is like a castle or a fortress or a tower. They built it that way, so an army couldn't reach them. You'd have to hike down one mountain and then climb up a whole different mountain. And right there, they plant things like grain, potatoes, basically, all their food. See, if we had built over there, if we lived there and grew our crops in the same place, since it's all terraced land, an army could just walk right up, launch raids and so on. Back in the day, that's how people lived. And so, all of this took a toll on people, physically, psychologically, and mentally. And honestly, you just can't be born in these conditions, live here, stay here, and be mentally weak. You just have to be tough. There's no other way to survive.
So you just built a sports complex there.
Yeah.
Pretty legendary, Could you talk about that?
Yes, that was my father's whole plan. He really wanted it way up in the mountains. First, it's great for the fighters. Right now, I just flew out here to Las Vegas. We're sitting here, doing this podcast together. But I came out here for Umar's fight. And I should say, Umar did his main training there at the new base in Sildi. He spent almost a month at that place. And because it's 15 to 1600 meters above sea level, man, it's tough to train there. And the thing is, when you spend about 3 to 4 weeks there, you just have more oxygen in your blood, you have more testosterone, you improve physically, your stamina builds up, and so on. And this base was sort of my father's dream. He started building it back in 2016, 2017. Money was tight back then. It was really hard, but we built it little by little. In 2020, my father passed away, but I kept the project going just a little differently, on a bigger scale. Right now, the base is open and 100 people can be there at the same time, training, eating, sleeping. And our guys hold their training camps up there.
Senator Susan Collins delivered millions in federal funding to improve housing for Maine veterans, including housing housing vouchers. She's also worked tirelessly to provide the quality mental health care our veterans deserve. Call and tell Senator Collins to keep fighting for our veterans. The Tempur-Pedic breeze makes sleep feel cool. So no more sweating all night or blasting the air conditioner, because the Tempur Breeze feels up to 10 degrees cooler all night long. Find cooler sleep with the Tempur Breeze collection at an Ashley near you.
So this was sort of my father's dream that I have pretty much brought to life. It's a powerful story. To return to the place where you were born up in the mountains, in order to build a sports complex where champions train. Makhachkala Gym is a great place, but the mountains are special. Mountains are mountains. Your whole village, no matter what, on some sort of deeper level, somehow gives you that. You know, like Americans love to say positive energy. Not everything has to be done for money. And, you know, you shouldn't just look for profit in everything, let's say financially. There are certain things that don't bring me anything at all, except for expenses. But I still do all of it because it brings me a lot of happiness and meaning. First of all, it creates a lot of jobs. People can work and earn a living. Second, it's because my father really wanted this. Third, let's say the guys can train and improve up there both physically and spiritually. There are just so many benefits there.
I don't know if it's okay to ask something like this, but I would dream of coming out there to Dagestan, and not just to Makhachkala, but to Sildi. Is that even possible for me?
I think we could film a really good story out there. I'm not sure about a podcast, but I'm sure we could shoot a really nice vlog there.
So, can you tell me a bit about the journey from Makhachkala all the way to Sildi?
4 hours, well, 340 through the mountains. Yeah, 340 through the mountains. The road is a real winding one, not an easy ride. If it gets to be too hard for you, we can just take a helicopter. It's no problem at all. Like 40 to 50 minutes from Makhachkala to Sildi. Otherwise, keeping it more down to earth, we go by car, so there's absolutely no problem.
I could never get used to a wealthy life. It's not in my blood to be like that.
Alright, then we'll go by car.
Yeah, we could go on horseback, but a car is better.
No, by car is better. On horseback takes way too long.
So you mentioned money, and we were just talking about comfort, because right now there are so many champions. They win so much. Things are going so well. How much harder is it to stay a champion when the money and the fame start coming in? When all that stuff starts showing up?
Well, those are all distracting things. When you become a champion, there's a massive amount of attention on you. Sometimes it's contracts, sometimes you end up having to fly a lot, you start getting busy with things, and little by little you begin to miss your workouts. You miss 1, you miss 2, you miss 3. And all of that takes a toll. And the person who used to train with such a drive, with a hunger to be the best, as soon as they actually become the best, they just don't know what to do next. And they live their whole life just to become stay on the top. As soon as they get there,
First it was Grand Planner's problems.
what are they supposed to do?
And now,
That's
Troy
it.
Jackson.
They already made it, they've reached their goal, and there are just so many distracting factors. Money, flights, meetings, contracts, video shoots. There are just so many distracting factors. And so, if a person doesn't know how to handle all of
This is
this,
an attempt to intimidate
then
and
that
control
person
women.
comes down from the
Maine
top
deserves
real
better
fast.
than Troy
And I'm
Jackson.
saying this based on my own experience, from what I've seen all around me with the ones who came before me. And back then, when I was training with my father, his students who went on to become world champions, just how they finished their careers and so on. And it's what I saw from my own observations of other types of sports, how they came back down, as far as I've learned.
Todd posted
This is a very delicate moment. If a person
That's the whole
climbing
truth.
all
At
the way
Dream
to the
Club,
top,
we
if
produce
they can
better
handle
drinks.
all of that,
So allows
that
to help
already
with
shows
work.
they have an incredibly serious mindset. Reaching the championship and staying there, reaching it is one thing, but staying a champion, that's totally different. It's incredibly tough. You're
saying that even on a local level, once you become a champion,
Now that's a dream worth
that's
sharing.
already
Better dreams.
a tough moment, because a lot of people who start winning, like you said, they stop fighting, they quit doing MMA and switch over to fitness.
We have no idea.
They find themselves that comfort.
Or what you
But
plan to tell
holding
us
on to
or
it is hard,
want to tell
even
us.
on the local
So
level.
I can't
Every single time you become more and more of a champion, you won the Sambo championship, you keep winning more and more, and every time it gets harder.
in any sort of homicide
Yes,
case.
and it depends on the person's goals. If you want to become an amateur champion just to prove something to yourself, that's one thing. But if you view amateur sports as a springboard to jump right into professional sports and become a champion among professionals, that's a whole different thing. There are different paths. First, you build an amateur career just to get into the pros and go even further from there. Second, after you made it into the pros, you become a champion. And third, after you become a champion, you have to stay there. Not everyone has what it takes. It is incredibly tough. If you look at the numbers, you can literally count these champions on one hand. How many of them are there? Maybe 15, 20, 30 people? Let's say 50 over the last 30 years. And how many have tried? For example, 50 achieved it over 30 years, over 35 years of MMA combat sports. But how many tried? Hundreds of thousands. And look at that number, such a tiny amount actually reached the end goal. So for you to actually make it into this tiny list, you really have to be like just a truly unique person and a fighter and you know, a student. And a person who can accept guidance from a coach who, when they are being guided, discard the cons and take only the pros. But there are people who take criticism very hard and very negatively and are very sensitive, let's say, when they take criticism from a mentor. So it all has to click. And some accept criticism at the very beginning, but then once they become champions, it's hard for them to take it. It happens differently. A man sometimes doesn't even know what he is capable of. Sometimes he just can't really understand himself until he achieves success or becomes famous, wealthy, and powerful. That is exactly when he discovers his true qualities. When he is limited in something, in money, in power, in everything that success eventually brings him, he doesn't really know how he's going to act in this new role, doesn't know how he'll behave once he becomes big, famous, and a champion. Nobody knows. Some people say and wish, oh, if only I'd made it like that, I would do things this way. I think it's better if people don't throw around such big words, because you never know how you'll carry yourself once you actually get there. You know, it's such a delicate thing, getting up there and still remaining human.
Look at what Troy Jackson did. Special interest in his son, and Jackson changed his positions.
Hello there.
Oh,
Stand up for.
I'm sorry, who are you?
Put your jacket.
I'm Liberty Bibberty, and I'm here to tell everyone it feels great getting great coverage and savings on car insurance with Liberty Mutual.
what was that?
Hi, I'm Liberty Bibberty. Great coverage, great savings. Bibberty.
When it comes to you, I see that everyone here just loves you. Even early on in your career, millions of
The
people
truth
loved
did
you.
come out.
That is also
It just took 2 years.
a tough
And it
thing
was
to
not
deal
the
with
one he
because
wanted.
maybe you start
James
believing
Craig
it.
was convicted
Yeah,
of first
and you
degree
can
murder
lose
for the
yourself in
poisoning
all of
his
it.
wife.
So is
He
it all
was
in the
sentenced to
mind?
life in prison
I mean,
without the possibility of
what
parole.
actually goes on
He was
in a
also
champion's
convicted on
head
5 counts
in
of
yours
soliciting others to commit
when you
perjury.
sat alone thinking
From a
about your
jail
life?
cell, he had been
Who am I
trying to find
really?
people willing to testify.
And what do I
that
do to
Angela
keep
was
being a
suicidal.
champion or to become one?
And he had asked another inmate
Well, first of
to
all,
produce a
from the
video
very
of her,
beginning, if you
asking
realize
him
that
to
what
buy
you're
the poison
chasing isn't
himself.
the most
He
important
was
thing
still
in life,
building the story
then it gets
after
easier for
he
you.
was caught.
And
He
then,
never got
you
to
know,
tell
there
it in
are some
front of the
people
jury.
whose
let's say ultimate goal is to be successful, powerful, and to make it big. At the end of the day, after all, we are not really such big, important people. And, I believe it's wrong to just crown yourself king. Because
she left 6 children.
if we put it,
New interrogation breakdowns
to put it bluntly, if we're being honest here, we can't even control the basic need to go to the restroom. Maybe to some, yeah. To some people this will probably seem a bit crude, but we all go to the restroom, excuse my language. If we can't control even this, so what can we actually control in this life? Look how many people we know, how many great people have left this earth. It doesn't really matter how big, strong, or famous you are, how wealthy you are, champion or no champion. Either way, they put us all in the exact same grave, 2 meters down, or a meter or a meter and a half. Different confessions, different religions, they bury people in different ways. So, I actually believe that every single person should have this realization that we are just not some kind of big, important people here who just decide and get to control everything. We don't get to do that. In my case, I was raised under the guidance of my father. My father was a coach, and my goal was always to prove to my father that out of everyone, even though he trains many other people, he trains everyone. I mean, I'm also here. I can show him he doesn't have to look very far. I'm right there, and under his guidance, I can become a champion. I looked up to him and followed his example. Trained hard, and it was a kind of a challenge to prove to him that, look, I am right here, Father, and everything you teach, I will take it all in zealously, worthily. I'll follow your program, do it right, and I will become a champion. And that was exactly the kind of goal I had, to prove it first and foremost to my father, and secondly to the entire world, that I can become the best wrestler or fighter. But I never thought of being crowned king. After I became a champion, I was never going to walk around look how cool I am. That was never in my head. And I'm really glad that the Almighty protected me from all of that, because many people end up in a bad place if they act like that.
This is a profound wisdom, not thinking about being crowned. But even if you don't, a fire should burn within you, driving you to become a champion, right? As you said, hundreds of thousands, millions of people want to be a champion, but only one can be.
Yeah, but that is actually about you confronting your opponent. You've got to put a barrier inside your mind, where on one side you're a humble person, but on the other side you're different because you have a goal, your goal. Of course, you should still follow a code of honor. You should be a man, a righteous man, and know what you can and cannot do. You should always do that. But in the end, your opponent is the person who wants to stop your dream. So here, the boundaries expand just a little bit. Right here, you're already not playing humble. Right here, you just step out and you want to clear your opponent out of your way, and that's it. Because your goal is to be the best in the world, and they are blocking you. Excuse me, but in this situation, there's no way you can act all humble.
Okay, but when you were training in the gym, what was it that gave you this strength? A hatred of losing, or a love for winning?
Susan Collins is given from the green light to do whatever he wants in Iran.
A lot of us are having to work, 2 and 3 jobs in order to make ends meet. Our rent has gone up, healthcare is not affordable.
And possibly other stuff.
So I went behind Safeway, by Safeway.
What's Safeway?
Sam's Club, I'm sorry, Sam's Club.
Okay.
Sam's Club. Yes, Sam's Club. So I went that way. I'm not sure what's 24?
Did you
guys happen to see a cell phone?
We're working for it, but if we just keep you up off the...
Oh, yeah, cool. No
We're trying to
I think it was the hatred of losing. Yes, definitely. I mean, you know, of course you want to win. But for me, there was always this driver, like, no way, I am not losing, you know. When they would give me a fight, I always tell this to my guys, whenever they will give me a fight, on a professional level, 100 days before it, I was, how do you say it, addiction. I was fixated like when people have this addiction, but for me it was commitment that I absolutely had to prepare perfectly for the fight. I couldn't miss any training sessions. I would literally have like this panic, like for example, I'd fly somewhere, I have, let's say, 85 days left until the fight. Like I knew that I had to fly. For example, if I was flying to Moscow, I would always pick a ticket so I could absolutely do my morning training session first. Then I'd take off around lunchtime. And once I arrived in Moscow, for whatever reason, I had to fit it all around my training schedule. Either I had to meet up before my training sessions, or I had to meet up after my training sessions. And I simply could not miss that evening training session because I had to train during the day from 4 to 5 hours, 2 in the morning, and 2 to 2 and a half in the evening. And I needed to, I would prepare myself that way, looking at who was in Moscow right then, wondering who I could pull into a training session there. Well, they also had to, the person had to match my level as well. Not just like I showed up there, you know, played around with him. I needed a fight back. I would arrange in advance who was gonna come. Maybe some sparring, maybe I'd do wrestling, maybe I'd hit the weights, maybe a striking workout. So I had this, let's say I always had this tough and scientific approach to it. So I believe that more than anything I didn't want to lose rather than I wanted to win, you know. Of course winning is also a huge pleasure, but more than anything I just didn't want to lose.
So in all those hard training sessions, you were thinking about not losing?
That's the fuel.
The fuel, 4 to 5 hours every single day.
Every day.
There's a story that I heard. Sadulayev, the legendary wrestler, told a story that he went to a hotel, I think it was in Moscow, to train in the gym, and he was the only, it was during the night, I don't know, he was the only one who was there. And you came down, and you actually trained together. And he said a lot of great things about you. He said that you gave him some really deep wisdom, which helped him to win the gold medal at the Olympic Games. I'm curious, could you tell us now what you told him? What kind of wisdom did you give him?
I can't remember exactly, but we had really great conversations.
It's a great story that the two of you, like two legends like that, just met completely by chance.
Well, look, he's a two-time Olympic champion, right?
Right.
I think he doesn't skip his training either. He never missed one back then. I believe that we both ended up there because we both, you know, hate to lose. And we both really want to win. And you know, recently I came across this idea. There are athletes who simply want to win, and then there are some for whom victory isn't enough. They want domination. I believe that he is one of those as well. They want domination, and for that, what does a person have to do? They have to train. They have to grind morning and night. And there was this thing with us. After the morning, my father never let us sleep. When I say the morning, I mean after Fajr, the dawn prayer. He just wouldn't sleep himself, so we couldn't either. So every morning, 6, 7, we'd be out doing our warm-up. Some people might call it a warm-up, but when you show up at the stadium in the morning, you run 5 kilometers, you do sprints, you work with resistance bands, you work on the pull-up bar, you do push-ups, dips, jumps, you know, the bands, then work with a partner, drilling, and so on. That's about 2 hours of work. You drop 2.5 kilos there. Not really a warm-up, but father always called it that, right? That was a full morning training at 7 a.m. Then I came home to rest, and at 4 o'clock we'd head to the gym. The training would start at 5 o'clock and end at 7. By 8 I'd be home, and by 11 I'd rest up. And yet I kept thinking that something was missing. Like, I know that I have a competition coming up in like 40 or 30 days. And I would wake up and I'd be like, let me go to the sea, I'm gonna go down to the sea, do some running, some sprints on the sand, work out, and so on. And so many times, I ended up going out for a third training session as well.
No, I don't think so.
Sometimes father would say, rest. In the morning, we're gonna have a heavy workload. But sometimes I wouldn't tell father, I just go out at night, head out and train. At night, when everyone's asleep, when nobody's around, I'd grab one of my close friends, give them a call, have them pick me up, then hop in the car and head to the sea. I'd train for an hour or an hour and a half, come back and crash. Next morning, I'd get up and start all over again. And just this routine, non-stop. And when I see guys, you know, when they do just one training session, or like they say, on Wednesday we have a morning training, then an evening sauna session. What do you mean? You have to fight in 50 days. You have a huge fight ahead and you want to take a rest in the middle of the week? Well, rest on Sunday. On Saturday, do a morning training, hit the sauna in the evening, take a complete rest on Sunday, and start all over again on Monday. That was just my approach. Everyone does it differently. I don't know, I just think it has to be in your head. You gotta want it incredibly badly.
So you believe that to be a champion, you have to train like that, you have to be that serious for the majority of people?
Let's say I believe that to be at the top, the top tier, right? One of the best in the world. A person has to always be, you know, a little bit, let's say just a little bit crazy, but in a good sense of the word. You have to be addicted to it and to want this incredibly bad. You have to take a fanatical approach to the training process. Just showing up and working out, that's what hundreds of thousands of guys are doing around the world. To stand out from that, from this crowd, let's say, who have the exact same goals as you do, to stand out from that, you have to take a fanatical approach to it.
Well, look, I'm training with John Danaher. And they train like that too. They train 3 times a day. And it actually feels right this way. I mean, of course, this is how you have to train.
Because of that, John has one of the best
he makes
students in the world. And after all, they don't just take some random place. I mean, they're not somewhere in the middle. They're at the top. And look at their whole approach.
Summer's here, and right now get 0% financing for 5 years on all 2026 Silverado 1500 models, with no payments for 90 days.
Chase has a need for speed. That's why Mom gets his meds from Chewy Pharmacy, because they always ship quick, which keeps Chase feeling like a champ. Chop chop. For fast delivery and trusted meds. For life with pets, there's Chewy Pharmacy.
Oh my god, are you
Such a bad attitude.
Some people
so much disregard for the person.
look, a person with that kind of approach just can't be somewhere in the middle. It's impossible. If you have a fanatical attitude, the right attitude toward the training process, on top of that, you have to be fanatical about it. You love what you do. And in the end, there will be results. Well, just look at John and look where his guys are. He creates champions. He finds a champion in everyone, across every category, right?
He creates champions. Not just one or two, but all of them. He finds a champion in everyone, across every category.
Look, the people who come to him, he has a system, let's say, right? Under this roof, under his roof, there is a system. People come here and they become champions in this system. So there are people there who are champions. These are specific, established names. And there are other people who came and left. They entered that black room, so to say, an uncomfortable place. They went in, stood for a year and a half or two, and left. Nobody talks about them. These are the people who came in, broke mentally, and left. And there aren't just a few of them. There are a lot. Usually most people give up. There are many who give up. But then there are the ones who come in and stay there for a long time. Long time. after some time, they achieve success. They become the best. They prove to themselves that once they enter the system, they could stay there for a long time, endure, and become the best. They prove that they are already capable of many things. They can be trusted to supervise big, important projects. I would even say, for example, 2000 years ago, they could easily rule entire cities. So a person who has gone through it physically, who has lived through it, who has faced challenges, passed the tests, they are capable of a lot, highly capable. You don't just walk into martial arts and become the best. It's very difficult. It means that you go through pain, you make sacrifices, you give your time, you face setbacks and failures in training. The mental strength and capacity mean a lot there. And when I talk about his system, look, I mean those schools that became the best, let's say, in football or in freestyle wrestling or let's say in MMA, in grappling or in judo, it's really hard to enter one of the best schools in the world, to stay when they are breaking you, throwing you, choking you, to improve as a person and as an athlete and to become a champion. It takes at least 12 years, 10 to 12 years, maybe 15. For some, it took longer. And to get through the grind for these 15 years and then to break through and become the best is worth a lot. Have you had those tough moments where you're almost broken psychologically? You know, just sitting there, finding it hard to breathe, and everything is going wrong, lost in some situations. And when you were young, was there ever a moment like that? Because the guys from Dagestan on the team, really great guys by the way, all say they've never seen you broken in training. Not even losing, really. But when you were young, did it ever happen? Look, I've been in this grind since I was a kid. Wherever my father coached, there were always... Let's take the year 2004, for example. My father put together the Dagestan national team for combat sambo and in mixed martial arts, which was called No Holds Barred Fighting. There were training camps too. I was 15. It was the winter of 2004. And I was the youngest guy there. The others were, let's say, between 22 and 30, all active world champions. At that time I was like 14, 15 years old. I wrestled with them, grappled, was in this uncomfortable environment for myself, where we always had the rule that the youngest has to do everything and he is always wrong. And I had to deal with that. Yeah. Especially in the gym. They throw you, hit you again and again. You have to show up morning and evening, day after day. This place hardens you. They say how this steel was tempered. Steel isn't tempered for nothing. How many times do you have to strike the steel before it becomes a sword? That doesn't just happen by itself. Did you believe in yourself then? Some of the guys who were at those camps back then, they're grown men now. Even then, they were older than me by 10, 12, maybe 15 years. And they always used to say, Habib, we honestly thought you were going to become some kind of scholar or scientist. Because my father was always making me read and write, read and write.
Senator Susan Collins delivered millions in federal funding to improve housing for Maine veterans, including housing vouchers. She's also worked tirelessly to provide the quality mental health care our veterans deserve. Call and tell Senator Collins to keep fighting for our veterans.
Thomas, that's what I'd like to talk to you about. Is it okay while we have this discussion if this is private? I'm sorry, your wife maybe listen to it. You look okay?
Yeah, you need to go upstairs. I don't want you to know I'm a sick fool.
I would copy out entire books by hand. There was always this control.
I know, right? It becomes a lot like the drugs. I mean, they can only do their jobs.
And you could just walk away and not do it. When he said, go do it, you did it. My father never forgot anything. He had a phenomenal memory.
Right, to not
He'd be like, did you do
what
it?
a lot of them are
And everything
doing.
he told you, he remembered. He
When you
just
see some of these.
He checked you. He was like, come here. and he'd check.
Right, so where are the producers? Where are the ones that are being abused? And then, again, they can only address
I was lucky that my father always kept me close.
what they're given.
I found myself
Cases with solid stuff, you know.
Who at that time,
right, when it comes to other things and
they
there's
just didn't compete.
cesspools
America
and stuff.
Europe
Again, that's why the
but
pros, you know,
in
pick
the
those kind of
post-Soviet space,
situations and people because they know it's a shit show before they ever would get to the actual facts and concerns. There's so many books to write and lawsuits along the way, you know. We've been doing this a long time. These poor kids, the ones that get abused really bad and put out on these feeds, the child and animal abuse. It's really bad.
Yes, from my childhood.
Oh, elderly too, yeah.
And it went on the approach.
Well, that's why back in the day, remember, they were trying to implement more security systems and people for...
You're not just trying to create a champion. You're trying to raise a well-rounded
not
person,
just the public ones like nursing homes and stuff, but people, yeah, that were home caring for people.
Kids with proper communication. My father
right, and then they would feel like that was an impediment upon their rights. Like, well, we can put them in a facility then. Oh, yeah, where they're going to get abused. Well, no. You know, and it's just this back and forth.
10 years old and when they are just beginning to form as a person.
Right, and when you have a lot of people that are caring for elderly or mentally ill people and they're on a lot of medications and people start to notice things and so they say, well, maybe they should make a law where if you want to be a caretaker for someone in that respect,
for example, before a holiday,
then you agree to the surveillance.
Or before school started, father would give money, I'd go buy clothes at the market.
Right, I mean, they'll still do the surveillance. It's just if they can still do it and see it themselves. It's just it can't be used in a court of law if they do it secretly. Right. So if they don't want to agree to it and they fight to no, that's an invasion of privacy and this and that. You're dealing with other, even when you know.
My father
it's right in front of your face.
He set a very strong personal example, very strong, and I really learned a lot from him. Took a lot. And then, as you mentioned, there was the book Countries and Peoples. Someone gave it to him as a gift. My father read through it and he realized that it was
right, and then when they will approve those things for separate, right, and they ignore, and then just pay attention to words and phrases and movements that might prove, yeah, that person's dangerous. Should have locked him up decades ago.
Geography, history,
it's insane. They're psychos. They're sick, sadistic, evil people, and the proper authorities need to address what's going on here.
Major rivers, mountains, cities, history, economy, finances. Just brief information about every country. My father said, you'll tell me about each country and I'll give you money for it. And I thought, alright. I knew this was like my own little capital. Just
trying to decide if you want a coffee or a protein shake.
All I had to do was come, take that book, read it, understand it. Then my father would take the book and say, now, tell me what you read. And he would check.
I might have another coffee.
He would
Coffee
look
or
through
protein
it.
shake.
The countries were arranged alphabetically. A for Andorra, Angola, and so on. B for Belgium, Brazil, and so on. Everything went in alphabetical order. I started from A and read them all, straight to the very end. Like every single time, when I needed the money, I did that. And for example, I go over the first 40 countries, check a box, and then I continued. That's how my father would test me. Let's just say that my knowledge of geography comes from back then. Did you realize how big the world was?
Oh yeah, a lot of that stuff might seem weirder or mindless to you, but for us, just a lot of the simple, basic, yeah, kind of movement, extensions, stretches,
different countries, see
ones
wonders
with
of
the
the world, the
spine,
Coliseum,
different
the pyramids.
positions. It's for us, it's really
But
all
all of
about
this is from childhood, from
chemical
what I read
regulation.
and wrote.
It's almost like massaging your
It wasn't
innards
just
too,
about
you know,
reading,
spine
I
and all
also
these
had to
cells
rewrite
and
it.
tissues
I
and
had to write it
organs.
down. I always wrote
Shaking
down
up
what I read.
stuff.
And actually,
Yeah, it's great.
this is
So I know a lot of it
advice for
seems
parents,
redundant
you know.
and useless
They
to
can
maybe
use
people
this
like
with
you.
children too.
Right, I mean, we're not trying to
They can tell them to sit down and copy books by hand.
look like a bodybuilder. It's not, right, that's not the purpose. I mean, it does help with
Writing,
those things
how
too,
to
as
write
far
improves
as tightening and toning.
and it stays with you when you read and write.
Tell me about it.
It really develops a child. Not only I believe that.
Right, so
I
for us, we
actually
just
do
kind of go with the
advise
flow in our
parents
own
to
movements,
motivate their kids
ligaments.
this way.
Yeah, especially where we have a
can
lot of
simply
old
create some
injuries
kind
and
of challenge
hypermobility, and
that
we
children
hyperextend very
benefit from
easily
and
and
reward them for
dislocate.
it after it is
Yeah,
done.
so we do the best we can.
This really helps
And so yeah, a
develop
lot of the
child's mind.
movements and positions to you might
Actually
seem
saw
strange,
advice
but to
from-
us it's
From the great
yeah, no big
writers
deal.
who said they remembered doing the same thing when they were young. When they first started writing, they just
Shake
simply
your tail
copied
feather the way you want,
other
and we'll shake ours the way
legendary
we
writers.
want.
You read their work and then you type it out yourself. And you start absorbing that style into your bloodstream. Well, it needs to be done in childhood, sure. When the child is ready to learn and his
And
mind
see, just
is
like
open,
anything else, you drive the
let's
way
say,
we want, and
as a
we'll
metaphor,
drive
when his
the way we
table is
want.
clean, not occupied with clutter, then, as a father,
You drive the way
can
you
help them
want,
place
and we'll
all
drive the
the
way
right
we
things on the table.
Yeah,
in
just
the
like
proper
anything else.
place.
You eat your food the way you
Let's
want,
say
and we'll eat our food the way we want.
Put the food in one
Okay?
place.
You speak the way
flowers
you
in
want, we speak the
another,
way we
something
want.
like that.
Right, when does it become
It is important.
a problem?
That's why I believe I was very lucky. My
When does
father
it
did the
become
right
a
thing.
crime?
He provided me with the
Right,
right
so be like,
kind
oh,
of
okay, so we
information.
just drive the way we want.
And
So
I
you
learned
just go out and
about
act like an
just
idiot.
from
No,
being
no, they
around
say we
them.
just drive the way we
I
want.
learned so much
Okay,
just
so if
from
you want to
being
drive
around
like an idiot and do those things, you're going to get arrested. Why would you want to do that? You're an idiot. Right, so when you apply these things to pretty much everything else and they play those fucking games in our systems like children,
So I absorbed
and
a
innocent
lot
people
from
have been
him.
getting killed because of
And
their
it was
psychotic,
interesting
immature,
for me too.
nasty belief
Of
systems
course,
and lies within our system.
when you're a
Yeah,
teenager, sometimes
pretty bad.
you're tired, sometimes
if you live
want
or
to
work
break
in or
free.
around this building, you know who
All
you
that was
are, who
there.
we're talking to.
But
There's a lot of, just like any other
my
occupation
father
we
had the
mentioned,
right approach. He influenced me a
DHHS.
lot,
Yeah,
and in the right way.
99.9% of them are
And there's
great.
the physical
There's that
component
few,
too of hard work.
that few that want to
There's a
ignore the
story
truth
told
and
about the
bulldog
time
for
you made you dig a
criminals
big
and
hole
commit crimes and
just because
fraud.
it was difficult. There's wisdom in that.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
That
one
you just need to
crime
work, you need to stay
might
busy all
not
the
be that
time.
big of a deal,
These
right?
were training
I know a lot of
camps
them just
from
want to look at the petty
2005
stuff,
to
like, oh, it's not a big
2007.
deal.
In the
No,
summer,
they're
we
just
went to
jealous
Japanese.
of,
There
I
was
know,
a
you go to
children's
different
boot camp,
cases and
an
it's they're
old
just
Soviet
jealous
style
of
pioneer camp, where we stayed
their
during our
success,
life in
whatever it
forest.
is.
Together we
And
built
then
a small
sometimes you're
training
hitting
area
bounds
there
of illegal
with a rope,
stuff, but things that
punching
people
bag,
really
a
don't
pull-up
care
bar.
about. It's like
We
petty
did splits
stuff,
there. We moved
brothels.
resistance bands. After
Right,
running
things
in the
like that. You
mountains, we
start
would come
seeing
back
at
and work
different
there.
levels
There were
what they
almost
have
no
for
mats.
resources
We
and
built the base
capabilities.
ourselves. It had a dining room
Right,
on the
so at a
first
lower
floor,
level,
and an
you know, they
attic
might not
space
have
where
a
we
big
slept.
old fancy
We would
professional
come downstairs,
brothel
eat,
or
go outside,
restaurant.
train
They
in
may
a little
have
sports area, then
a
run in
breast
the forest.
milk facility
somewhere
and they're
around
bumping out
1200
breast milk
meters
and
above
selling
sea
it.
level, a
on the
conifer
locals.
forest.
Not
We
funny.
spent the whole summer there.
What
There
else?
we'd train in the morning, then there was nothing to do all day.
Eyelashes,
we had training
vacuums,
sessions again.
market to
But
market.
during the day, so we wouldn't
Coast to
be busy with
coast.
unnecessary things, my father sometimes gave us work.
Ghost hunters, alien
And we'd
hunters.
ask, why are we digging
They're on
this
a
pit?
mission. They're writing a
He'd
book.
say, well, people used to use it like a refrigerator. When you dig 2 or 3
Right, so
meters
again,
down,
and a lot of
it
those
gets cold
people, good
inside.
people,
You
just
can put milk
salespeople,
there,
write a
cheese,
book,
things
trying
like that,
to
so
just
the
get
food
by
does not
in
go
life,
bad.
man. They've
And
struggled
we
too.
were like, okay, but do
Right,
we
I
really
know.
need these
We're
refrigerators
just,
every day?
again, we're very
So in
concerned
that
about the
sense, this was
hostages
his
and the
approach
sick
back then.
fucks that tried to
He
kill
always
us
had this kind of
and like to
unique
fucking
approach.
torture little kids and the
Well,
sick
what's
psychotic
the
people around
philosophy
here
here?
protecting them.
That you
That's
gotta
all.
be busy all the
People
time.
get offended and want to say we're
Working
being
hard, doing something
disrespectful
difficult.
and ungrateful.
Yes, it's
You
very
motherfuckers
dangerous
are
to
done.
give a child
Proper
free
authorities
time
need to
in
address
adolescence.
this.
They should
Much love,
always be
health, and
busy,
peace to you all.
learning new
Mwah.
information, improving, acquiring